Okay, we're live on Facebook. This is the tree testimony part 2. Hello to everyone. I want to show you what happened this morning. And if you haven't watched part 1, please watch that first. You'll get the full amazement of this testimony. Okay, we're going to reverse the camera. And you know that it was a jungle out there in the driveway. A little bit of a gloomy day, but do you remember yesterday when this was completely cluttered and you can see the work done? Here's all I got free firewood for the winter. I'm gonna have to just split that over here. And this is, right here's the stump. This is my new chopping block that I'm going to be splitting wood. This is all clear. It's where the car was parked, one of them, and the other. So that's the setup. They were parked right there as it fell, and they are functioning well. Let's look at all the branches. The great wall of trees. I jokingly said this morning to my brothers in the Lord that this was the parting of the tree sea. But I say that in jest because, you know, when the Reed Sea, or if, you know, you call it the Red Sea, was parted by God through Moses, that was much more amazing. But this is a miracle to me. And these are all the branches. So what happened, I'm going to turn it back, and you can see. You see it's all cleared out. And turning back here. So look at that. And I want to say something about the two brothers in the Lord that came and did it this morning. I worked with them. It was 8 o'clock in the morning, and we started to pray at about 8:05. I got my boots on, steel-toe boots. We prayed first, and we started about I would say, 8:10, and we were, even with a difficulty that the large chainsaw jammed up, or sparks were coming out. It was not a good thing to have sparks come out of a chainsaw, but even with 10 minutes of working on that, we were doing the other work. We did this all in 50 minutes. 50 minutes. And I'm still so amazingly blessed, and I felt so loved that my brothers in the Lord came, and we did this together, and we had a blessed time of fellowship and service. And I want to say that superheroes are not real; they're fictitious. But these are the supernaturally blessed and motivated and empowered men of God that came over to help me, and these are the real superheroes. We're more than conquerors through Jesus, Yeshua, our Messiah. A lot of testimony, as I said. Let me expand on the rotted tree. I'm going to flip the camera again. Look, see how rotted that is inside? This is so solid here, but there's an ant's nest in there. And I'm going to say what I'm going to say next, not of condemnation, but not of condemnation, but of conviction. This is a great time to search. Ask the Lord to search your heart, everything in your life, and He'll reveal the deep things in your life. I'm going to walk to the back because I'm going to share one thing before I go. And it's a nice light rain today. But we don't know what's inside. Only God can reveal people's hearts. As I shared in my other testimony, I didn't realize I had a little self-hatred in me. These are generational curses that I didn't deserve. I didn't come out of the womb desiring to go into alcohol, gambling, lust, or whatever, lust of many things. And some of you know a lot of my testimony as I traveled to different congregations. It was a bad life, and it's been reversed. But whether you've started these difficulties or curses in your life, or they were put upon you, and you know, your parent was a cocaine addict and you came out of the womb addicted to cocaine, the whole point is to come to the Lord, and He's going to fix you. If you give your heart to Him, He's going to be that hero that children watch on TV. They watch superheroes that don't exist, but my superhero is the Lord Himself. And I want to show, and just to end with that, you know, just seek the Lord. We're not here to condemn each other. We're here to just encourage that life can always be so much better. It's amazing the way you can think and act and be after God shares with you what needs to be fixed, and He's the restorer and repairer of everything you need. I'm going to show you the next thing. I got to show the arborist, my brother in the Lord. I'm reversing the camera again. This is our next thing for spring. So I asked him about the danger. By the way, this is a huge, look at this beast of a tree. Here's my hand in comparison. It's hard to, we have probably the biggest tree in the community. There's some that might be taller, but this is really thick. Oh, there's my log I throw around and attack with weapons. But this one branch, as you can see, it's going over the top of the house. There's the chimney. That is a dangerous spot. And I asked the arborist, and he said that it's, you know, it's strong, but we want to get any dead branches off. Spring, we want to get this completely down. It's going to be a big task, but I speak of the natural things right now, and just to anyone watching this, there's two ways to speak. That's the plain way and the supernatural way. Let me give you an example. I'm going to reverse the camera. If you know your Bible, you know that Lazarus died, and a very, very famous miracle of Yeshua, Jesus, resurrecting him on the fourth day. That he needed, when it was first known, he let the other disciples, word came that Lazarus died. And the disciples heard about it, and Jesus said, "He's asleep." Then the disciples spoke amongst each other and said, "Is he really asleep?" I'm going to get under this covering because we're talking about covering. Is he really asleep? So it's written in the book of John, I forget which chapter, but it just says, Yeshua goes, he says plainly, he's dead. So there's natural things. You know, Lazarus was naturally dead, but supernaturally, from a perspective of heaven, he was just asleep. So with that context, and remember, we want a Hebraic thinking, not a Greek thinking, not one or the other. When you start to think Hebraically, you're going to really understand how Jesus could become the Word in the flesh while simultaneously being eternal in heaven and at the right hand of the Father, but also to have died here, but to be resurrected. You know, these are deep teachings, but if you understand, it can be one, the other, or both, instead of going, oh, it's only this way. Then you'll start to understand supernatural things. So I just showed you that branch. It's covering the house. It's covering. So I'm going to talk about coverings for a moment. The covering, anyone covering you, covering in certain things. I believe a covering can be even in a moment. Like today, I got to work with two men of God that are skilled in pruning of trees. That's what they do for a living. And they taught me, and I got to see that, get that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, because I'm going to start to trim what I can to the ability I have and improve this area. But what I'm trying to say about a covering is be careful of those covering you in certain things. If there's any iniquity in them, it's as stewardship of power and resources, whatever power is, through finances, influence, a name in the community. If there's a jealous spirit in them, or fear, a lack of love for themselves, if there's any leaven, as we call it in the scriptures, it's going to manifest even more. Deion Sanders, if you know him, famous football player, obviously. Those that know football, if you don't, he's super famous, world class. And he said, for example, when he won a Super Bowl, the next day he tried to commit suicide, or maybe even that night. He drove a Ferrari off the edge of a cliff. And he survived. He wasn't even injured. It was a miracle. So he gave himself to the Lord. But he spoke of money, and he's a multimillionaire. So when he speaks of money, you want to listen. So he said, money just magnifies. Now you have the money to buy your own liquor store, and it's just going to expedite everything that's wrong with you. If you're generous, you're going to be more generous. So with that in mind, with power, if I had still any self-hatred in me, no matter how much I cared about people, I'd be in a lack, because I wouldn't be right. I wouldn't be able to minister. And I did the best I could on those tours with many congregations, but my obedience wasn't complete, as the scriptures say. So this covering, that branch, I'm glad it's strong, and there's no fear that it's going to collapse anytime soon. But in the natural, we're going to have it cut down, because this tree needs to open up and view, and we can work on the dead branches. But in the supernatural, people that cover you, like King Saul with King David, right? Remember King Saul and King David. If you're not familiar with that, read 1 Samuel and 2 Samuel. The importance is King Saul was the first king of Israel, appointed by God, but chosen by the people. God didn't want a physical king. But I'm going to fast forward. I call him the 90% king, because he did 90% of what he was supposed to do. But when you're in that much authority, you're supposed to do 100%. There's a greater stewardship of what you're supposed to be doing. Okay? That stewardship is important, because you have responsibility that reflects and affects many around you. I've been practicing my stewardship, because it's a lot of power. We're supposed to have a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind to be focused and consistent with God throughout your day. You get cut off on the highway, profanity shouldn't get come out of your lips. You're accountable for even just speaking that, even thinking that way. It will affect others, because it'll come out. It's in you. It's like that tree that's rotted inside. So what I'm trying to say is, we're all royalty if you've received the Lord Yeshua, Jesus, as your Messiah, as the Savior. And now we have an accountability with each other, and there's positional authority. I've taught that at many congregations, that you can simultaneously be amongst people in equality, but also at times you have a positional authority, like in the military, or if you're leading a dance, or the lead worship leader, a rabbi, messianic rabbi, pastor, leaders. When I teach my combat classes, I'm in charge right then, for not to oppress, but to lead into safety, and to make sure no one gets hurt. They have all the right information, and then we can train together. So if there's any rottedness in anyone, any kind of leaven, as you increase in stature, a good name is better than riches. He increases your physical health, your finances, your influence, your graciousness in speech, your ability to articulate. And you have things in you, insecurities. Even if you steal a ballpoint pen at work, what would you do with millions of dollars of stewardship? If it's supposed to go to this something else it's dedicated to, you're going to be tempted even more to steal. So, to wrap up with the covering, I'm so thankful I'm learning about pruning. What to take down, what to cut down, what is not right. There's 2 dead trees. There's one right there behind that pine tree that's gone. The other was a debate with our spiritual mother, and she said, oh, there's branches still that are good, but it's a danger. If that one falls, as the arborist said, cut it down, because that's going to hit the main power line. Let's not risk it. Those are natural things. If you are producing some fruit, still, humble yourself so that you can be pruned, and which can be painful, but you're going to produce more fruit. Whenever you cut one of these trees, it causes an injury to the tree, but if you do it correctly by the, I want to say yoke, but right by the bark, where all the I want to say ingredients, but everything needed to repair that area, it'll cover it up, and then it'll allow the other branches to grow properly. I was taught by the arborist, you don't want hanging branches. You don't want them drooping down. You don't want them like this. You want your tree to go up. And you don't want even crossing ones. You don't want them interfering. You want them free to grow in the right direction. Up. Aliyah. Ascend. Up. And I'm getting this revelation as I see things. So King David was the new branch, and he was the new king, but he was not accepted by King Saul because of jealousy and his own lack of self-confidence to, he felt bad about messing up, but he doubled down on sin rather than helping King David with the kingdom and giving wise counsel and support and transferring over the stewardship to King David, because it already was by God through the prophet Samuel. But he should have let the people know. But all I'm trying to say is, go to the Lord so you can get pruned. It's a great thing to get pruned, because I know this season, me and my house are going to grow. We're going to wax stronger and stronger. My wife's getting healed of. Her migraines are almost gone, and her muscles in her back's loosening up, so the tension's gone. The children are prospering because I went to the Lord to prune me in my heart. I didn't want 90%. I didn't want 95%. I wanted it all to go to God. And in my testimony, I just saw those 2 last thorns of self-hatred and even little thorns. But little thorns can hurt too if you prick yourself. And what was causing me to be a little quick to anger, but frustration. And I saw that going to the crown of thorns that Jesus had on his head, and he took them. I'm free, completely free, and I see things at such a higher level. It is so sweet here in the promised land of my mind, and everything is amazing. So I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you for the prayers, and I just hope this testimony, I know, glorifies God, but I just hope it supports you in increasing to and encouraging you to get closer to God, and allow yourself decrease so he can increase in your life, and you're going to produce great things if you humble yourself and choose whom you will serve, that God will empower you in the area and make things happen where it won't feel glitchy anymore. It'll be a consistent taking of the promised land little by little. So that's all I have to say. This is part 2. I believe I'm going to go on Facebook Live more often. I have many teachings that are in my heart. I'm going to be teaching about warfare, just and show the physical manifestations of it. So keep us in prayer. We keep as many of you in prayer as we know to. We love our brethren, our brothers and sisters in the Lord, and just keep fighting the good fight of faith. So you saw that all cleared out, and I am truly amazed and blessed. So thank you for tuning in, and I just love glorifying God. All right, shalom, and I will talk to you later. Okay, I don't know how to turn this off. And finish.